Shane,
Casey,
how you doing?
I'm sleepy. The warp has got me all flustered. I've been traveling between my various systems as a rogue trader. Honestly, I've not been rogue tradering. I need to get back on it. It got better, you know. I think I told you. The game Rogue Trader.
You set up after 15 hours, is that right?
Yeah. I'm something like 22 hours into the thing, and it got better. So I moved it up from a 6 to a 7. Go check out our Rogue Trader review, which got quite a lot of traction on the YouTube.
Might do another one.
At 40K Fanatics on YouTube and X and everywhere else you get things. That is who we are and what we do. And what is it we do, anyhow?
We talk about Warhammer. We're 40K Fanatics, you know. So,
but it's not just 40K.
Well,
sometimes there are others.
Yeah, we are part of the Warhammer community. So as the Warhammer community gets good news or excitement, we have to chase down that content lead with vigorous tendencies.
And today it's all pip pip tally ho and various old school other idioms, because today's main topic is going to be about Old World. But first, we must open up the bits box and figure out what we've each done in the hobby this last week. Crack it open.
You want to go first?
I will go first. I've been working on the Star Wars Shatterpoint box. You see there's another game. It's a whole different system from Atomic Mass Games.
Yeah, your scenery looks great.
I got it halfway done, and me and the lady played it. Now, there was a part in the instructions that I did not feel were very clear, where it talks about how your strike force, or whatever they're called, is made out of 2 squads. And then when it goes to deployment, it's like, and then you pick a squad and you put them down. Well, they mean for you to play with both squads, but we played with 1 squad each, and it worked fine that way. So it was a small game, and the reason I did it that way is because that's how many I had painted. And so she was Darth Maul and some droids, and I was Anakin and the clones. And it was really, really fun, and it felt very thematic, and it was a real clunker to get going, as we just, with the instruction book, went one step at a time trying to figure it out.
A lot of back and forth.
The battle was back and forth,
No,
yes.
I meant like play the game and then read the instructions.
No, it was just read the instruction.
Oh, okay.
Read the instruction, read the instruction. It'd be like, I'm going to move. Read the instruction. 15 minutes later, you moved your guy. However, you play it as a best of 3, right? So you have to win 2 out of 3 of these struggles, and there's a struggle tracker thing, which is a tug of war, and there's a momentum system, which keeps it from just resorting to gridlock. And then when you get done with that struggle, nothing changes except the struggle tracker resets. All the objectives move around, except all your guys stay where they were standing. The dead guys stay dead, etc. And so it went down to the 3rd struggle, and it was very, very close. And by the end, we were playing fast. Like in the span, I think it took us 3 hours, because I'm talking about those first couple activations were clunky.
So after 1 game, you guys kind of had it down.
Oh, we got it down. We missed a couple of rules.
Good to hear.
I subsequently went back and watched some YouTube videos, and we just sort of took some notes. I mean, we didn't take some notes, but
You know, it's a very popular box. A lot of people talking about it. It'd be a shame if it was, bad or hard to play. So I'm glad to hear that it was, after 1 playthrough, you got it down.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I think it's really fun. Nobody in our community is playing it, which is a bit of a shame, but
because they spend all their money on 40K models,
right? And I do too. So
or AOS,
yeah. And but you can come to my place and play it fully painted and lovely. And you've got some Shatterpoint yourself that you have on the docket.
Yes,
and then
you're
gonna have
there.
Yeah, you're gonna have to bring Obi-Wan and Dim Boys, Commander Cody, and so what you can do, right, is when you come over to play, you'll bring your little squad, because the boxes, the little character boxes and their associates are a squad, but you need 2 squads. So what you'll do is you'll bring Obi-Wan, Cody, the 212th clones,
something like that.
Yeah. And then you'll stick Anakin and the 501st, and then that'll be your squad, and then I'll play some bad guys.
Oh, okay.
You
Now I
see?
get what you're saying. You
Yeah.
gotta have 2 squads. Okay.
Right, and then you'll have 2 squads, or we could just run it 1 squad versus 1 squad because it worked fine.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. It sounds fun. I mean, my wife is so eager to paint those. By the way, she really wants to.
She's gonna paint them.
Yeah, she says she wants to.
She better get her painting on strong then, because my stuff looks good. Check it out on X at 40K Fanatics. Our Wednesday whips are posted now, and you've been working on a back to 40K, something that I am very interested in. The sneakiest get that ever snuck.
Boss Snickrot. Yeah, I am painting. I've kind of hit the ground running in this new 2024 year. I have been painting a lot of scenery for our local game store, The Foundry. I finished up the last couple squads of that Imperial Fist commission, so it's all done. Over like 2,000 points of Imperial Fist just done, sitting in a box, waiting to go home to their daddy, Rogel Dorn. And then while I was visiting a friend, he bought me the Boss Snickrot from the game store over in that you go to more, Gamers Haven.
Yeah, shout out to Gamers Haven, shout out to the Foundry, friendly local game stores. Be sure to support all of your friendly local game stores as well. This show today is brought to you by Support. So, you were talking about how you were going to get Gazgul because you need some epic hero in your life. You've got a bunch of war bosses, and you got a bunch of
characters, man.
Well, and your characters are a bit
basic
pants.
Pants. Yeah.
Because I'm out here.
I think they're beans.
They're fine. They're fine, is what they are, right? They're the goodest boys. They're like a old mutt dog with no particular pedigree.
Hey, they still got some fight in them.
Except when they run up against my dudes, when I'm running the War Master himself.
Yeah.
And Harkin, World Claimer.
Yep. As a birthday present to myself, I've decided to get a Gaskull and some Mega Knobs. I've also got a Big Mech and Custom Force Field and Mega Armor coming. So look out.
Tax return has already been spent.
Nah, nothing crazy like that. No.
The lady friend is
Demonettes.
She's gonna pull the trigger on the whole thing here in a couple of days. Yeah.
What's she getting?
Well, she has a big girl job. I must preface this, okay, kids?
Because she is a professional.
Yeah. She has a big girl job, so she can just do this. But
she wears a tie.
She works from the house in her pajamas, and it's great. We were watching Die Hard last night while she was, air quotes, working. It's wonderful. But so she's going to pull the trigger on an entire Slaanesh demon army.
Is she going to get the box?
There is no box.
That's weird.
I know.
You think there'd be a box?
You would think there would be a box.
Yeah, demons.
You can get you some corn demon box. They've got
that makes sense.
They've got a combat patrol for that. I think they've got a boarding patrol for that. But no, for the slashy girls, it's just piece by piece. So it's gonna be quite expensive. But again, that's why I said she's got a big girl job. So I don't recommend this practice to everyone. But if you can do it, I mean, it's laying it out on the table type stuff, isn't it? I'm trying to think. I think that maybe all I have in the bits box is I've been painting Star Wars and having a ball.
Yeah.
Now, I do, at risk of making this into a painting pod, I have seen your Boss Snickrot.
Yeah. I'd only worked on him 2 painting sessions, probably about 8 hours in now. So I figure he's an epic hero, do an epic paint job, and he is looking mighty tasty, I must say. Go check him out on the X page, guys. I have posted my Boss Snickrot and Shane's Star Wars figures up there on the formerly known as Twitter.
So, my comment on it, having seen it in picture, I started to notice, and then in person it's even more pronounced. His skin is an order of magnitude better than any orc skin you've previously painted. And I want to know, what has made you so much better at that? Has it been our various painting discussions? Has it been some of our competitions? Have you just, like, what do you think has caused this level up? Because I want you to post on X for the people a side-by-side of your war boss, who has been your warlord in your various games, versus this dude. Because I'm telling you, it is an improvement that is night and day.
Well, in my efforts recently to try to learn how to paint non-metallic metal, gold, and steel, I've done a lot of layering, a lot of highlights and stuff like that. And honestly, I have tried the whole do the skin thing really good on an orc model. But in the past, it's like you got 20 guys, and it's like you said, my characters are basics. They're the basic dudes, the basic war boss, your basic knobs. They look good. So why not just get a quick and dirty but effective paint job done for their skin, Base coat, shade, done. But if I have tried it before with my big mech with custom force field that I have in my army box that you've seen him like a million times, he looks good, but man, it was really annoying painting him. Just doing all those layers because he's resin. This guy, I figured, I'm getting named characters now. Maybe I should step my game up on the named characters because all of my elite and headquarters units, they look good. They're battle ready. They're a little better than that. But my name stuff, like I'm going to be getting a Gazgul, I got a boss Snickrot. I want them to look spicy. Yeah,
because they're the centerpiece of the thing now.
They're the one people know.
Yeah, and when they're bigger than the others, so you're going to be able to pick them out quick.
Exactly.
Boss Snickrot's going to be jumping in with those commandos with their scout move, or is it a scout or is it just a infiltrate?
Infiltrate.
Yeah, so you're going to lay them down nearly anywhere on the table, out in the open, and it's just going to be like, here they are. Look at them. Gaze upon their magnificence.
And he gives them the benefits of cover.
So you feel like that your practice in layering. So the thing that makes him stand out from your other orc skin paint jobs is the contrast.
Yes.
He in the places it should be dark, it goes quite dark. In the places it should be bright, it goes quite bright, which has always been my gripe about any of your painting jobs because it's just as clean as all the others. But now he's got this variance, this depth of color that really makes him pop where the others do not. And so you're attributing that to your practice with the non-metallic metals where as you were working on it, you just kept pushing the contrast higher and higher and higher. And now that has transferred into basically non-metallic metal in green.
Yeah, and when I was a kid and I first painted some orcs, I tried that. I did like a black or like a really dark green, and then tried highlighting it, and honestly, just looked like a circle on nothing. So, and they were way smaller. But this one, now that I'm learning how to get close to the shadows without filling them in or not being too far away, they really blend up to the highlights and make it just pop.
It's really lovely.
So I've seen all these really nice painted orc characters that people do on Instagram, on Twitter, and I'm just like, I gotta get my boys out there. I gotta represent.
So I did a thing, again, at risk of making this a painting pod. I painted Killarney, the super, like the tactical battle droid. So from Star Wars, he was in the Clone Wars movie, if you remember it. And so he's like green with some trim on him. And I did him almost entirely with the airbrush, which I had never done before. I primed him primed him black, zenithalled him white, and then took some green Army Painter Air range and used that zenithal to inform the highlights and the shadows, just like you see the very, very fast people do it on YouTube. And he turned out really good. I don't recall if he's in that shot that I sent for the Whip Wednesday, but
I want to say yes.
It took 20 minutes to paint him. And that was somewhat transformative. I went through with a brush and did his little trim and took a lighter green color and did some highlights, and then he was done. And I feel like he fits with everybody else. I feel like that possibly people will not realize that he's an airbrush job versus the brush jobs if you see it all together. Certainly not to the untrained eye, but that was a thing that I did that I had not done before. I mean, I've done plenty of sort of base coating, but just to almost start to finish, with minus the minus the little highlight pass and a bit of edge highlighting. But again, it was very, very little brush work. No base coating was done with the brush.
He looks lore accurate.
Yeah, he looks good, and he's got a lot of depth of color with just absolutely no effort whatsoever. But it's handy because he's essentially a skeleton. So, I don't know how that sort of method would turn out if he had some clothes on or anything of that sort. I guess you'd just paint the clothes at that stage, which would not be too bad. I will find out, though, with all these demonettes that need to be painted in the near future. But that, I think, should close the Bits box. We've spent some time on it today. I hope you guys have enjoyed it.
Yeah, let's close that up.
Sound effects provided by Casey.
So what are we talking about today, Shane?
Today, we're going to go back well before I ever got into the hobby. I came in at the end of the 9th edition, just before Arcs of Omen GT Pack, when it was still devilishly complicated to figure out what anything was and how to put any armies together. And we're going to talk about the old world.
Yeah, the retconned and now brought back old world.
So my number one source of this kind of stuff, I pay them money for their backstage pass, and I recommend that you do too, is the Tabletop Tactics guys over in the UK. And they did a video talking about Old World, and they've subsequently done a couple of battle reports, and I've watched them both and have got my head around the differences between it and our beloved 40K. So
they're the same world.
They are drastically different. They are such
same
different
universe.
games. Same. I don't even think they are they?
I'm going with the old lore. Games Workshop said they're not connected recently. Like within the last 5 years, said, hey, so we're retconning old world and going with AOS. They're not connected to 40K, and now they're bringing back the old world. And I'm going to say yes, they are connected.
Well, hold on now, because Age of Sigmar is allegedly not connected to 40K.
But does Sigmar seem like a Primarch to you?
Sigmar seems like the Emperor. I don't know if we've talked about this, but I theorize from
he
the bit
did
of
become Emperor, didn't he?
Yeah. He was.
I don't know. It sounds like let's go over a story. A baby found in the woods kills some bad guys, gets raised by a lord, kills more bad guys, becomes friends with the tribes, unites them, becomes emperor of the world, and then fights chaos.
Yeah.
Now who does that sound like?
I know. And also, subsequently, his want for control of everything caused all the factions to begin an endless war. And everything is messed up at that point. It sounds like... So here's my theory. If Age of Sigmar and 40K are not going to have anything to do with each other, and as far as I can tell, a lot of this has to do with whether or not the rat people exist. What are they called? The Skaven exist.
Love the Skaven.
The Skaven seem to be the only line of demarcation that precludes one from being connected to the other. It appears that at some point, the Emperor of 40K and the entire reality as we know it comes to an end. And then a new Big Bang happens, right? And there is new creation, and all of the various residents of Sigmar, of the Age of Sigmar, propagate and spread out, and then eventually, the eternal, just gonna mess it up-edness of the Emperor is then born again into the Age of Sigmar, where he proceeds to wreck it. Does that
What
sound,
an interesting theory.
Does that not sound reasonable?
Well, it does sound reasonable, but then you have to remember the old ones are also in the old world.
Okay, so let's get to...
And there's orcs, sir.
So let's get to the old world, because so far we haven't even touched the old world. Yeah, we haven't even
touched it. Let's talk about the boxes.
Yeah, so the boxes are cool.
They look dope.
Hold on, before we get into the boxes, I'm going to talk about the differences in the games, okay?
Come on.
Let's talk about the differences in the games. We'll touch on boxes at the end, because people, according to our view counts and things, love some box talk.
They do.
Next week, we plan a whole episode of box talk, which will be fun. But Back to Old World. So Old World is a game, and again, this is all well before my time. So if you
And my time.
yeah, you Old World players, this is going to be trod ground for you. But I imagine that we, as a fairly new podcast, have got a lot of fairly new hobbyists who are like, "What even is this?" It is what's called a rank and flank war game. So similarities to 40K. It's still I go, you go. I do all my phases. My turn's done. It's time for you to do all your phases. Your turn's done. So on and so on for 5 turns or so. It also still has a hit, wound, save mechanic. It's also on a D6 system. And then it's rank and flank. Now, the Shane jury is still out on whether I like the whole concept of a rank and flank. I'm leaning toward I don't. I have only played one, and it is called Saga, and it is a skirmishy type of rank and flank war game where you have, 5 units each, and they've got to be on movement trace. So if you don't understand what rank and flank is, here it is. All of your units, who can be multiple models, let's say you got a little block of 20 melee dudes, right?
20 knights, let's say.
20 knights. I think knights are a different thing entirely, but
for the new kids.
Yeah. Is dudes with some kind of armor and a sword, and they're going to chop stuff up. In their little retinue, they're going to have like a banner and maybe some sort of captain, right?
The unique base.
Sure. Well, no. So the base is where it all goes nuts.
Really?
They're on little square bases, and in a rank and flank game, all of your guys are locked together. Like they all touch.
Yeah.
They make a block.
I love that.
I do not.
Really?
Well, you end up with all this. So then you get movement trays, and you put all your guys on a tray. And then you start to move them, and you have very specific rules for how you can move and how much you can turn and pivot. They call it a wheel. Like we're going to wheel around to this McDonald's, right? It means you're going to take a little turn here, and then you're going to move forward. If you want to march, that means you get like double your movement, but then you get a pivot or you don't get a pivot, but some stuff doesn't pivot, and like horses pivot. Pivot. You've got your reform where you don't move, but you get to just sort of twist the thing however you want, but you don't get to move forward.
I like it because it makes me feel like an old school general in the war room, just pushing units up with a stick.
So that is exactly what it's meant to feel like.
Yeah.
However, these are individual models on individual little square bases that are then set on these big old dinner plates of movement trays. And so your models individually end up being like just wound counters, right? So as they die, you just sort of tip them backwards off their tray and remove them. And all this sounds fine until you get to the part that seems like obnoxious to me, which is you can't, like if the corner of your big tray is going to impact the edge of a tree, then you just can't go that way. And so the movement gets very sort of abstract. Like the concept of the battle gets very abstract, because in 40K, in Age of Sigmar, we have model by model movement and combat, right? So you can string these guys out however they need to be. You've got your coherency rules, which are important because that's the part that makes it work. Otherwise, you would just string a line of chaff out across the entire battlefield and be like, well, now it's going to take you a turn to fight through them, right? That wouldn't be cool at all. But then this is the other side where they're this block and this is them. And
very old school way of thinking.
It's a very old school way of doing it, which is called the old world for a reason. So that's what you get. I don't think I love it because you get a lot of weirdness in the way that it works, which I guess, I'm going to shorten this to say it feels a lot more like a game this way. Whereas 40K and Age of Sigmar feel more like a video game or a movie.
Because dice tell stories.
Well, I just mean, when you go to pile in with your dudes and you're like, all right, I got 8 dudes in. It's like 8 dudes clambered over these rocks and elbowed their way to the front.
Ah, okay. I get what you're saying.
Whereas my block has touched the side of your block.
Yeah, a little less
Like
thematic.
Yeah, like 4 of your guys are going to fight. So another difference between 40K and Old World that I've observed is a lot less dice rolling.
Ooh.
So
Me as an orc player, I
So-
hate that.
well, I mean, I don't know. I'd run a lot of hacky slashy Chaos Space Marines, and I roll plenty of dice. What you need to get is your
That's true.
You need to get your dice bag on a holster, sir. I'm
That
telling
Crown
you,
Royal
it's
bag you carry on your pocket.
It is not a Crown Royal bag, but it could be if you're cheap.
That's our personal headcanon here.
But
Shane is an alcoholic.
it makes it quicker. It's a game changer. But in Old World, you don't really have to worry about that. If you're rolling 20 dice, something very serious has happened. A lot of times you'll be rolling 6.
It's very interesting.
Now, I know that you sometimes have a little bit of difficulty with the comparative math of the wound roll, comparing strength to toughness.
Yeah, it only took me 2 years to figure it out.
In Old World, you also compare weapon skill.
Say what?
Yeah. So you compare weapon skill for your hit roll, then you compare strength and toughness for your wound roll.
No.
And then there's AP that has to do with your save. And while you're doing this, you have to maintain a count of wounds done to one another
I'm devastated.
that then contribute towards your resolve score. Because at the end of any combat, stuff will win or lose, and the loser has to fall back or flee, and then there's another roll that has to take place to either, for the attacking unit, the winner rather, to either pursue or stay where they are.
So there's no objectives on this. It's just 2 armies bashing each other, trying to outflank each other.
What I have seen so far is it is just kill stuff, the mission that the Tabletop Tactics guys have been playing, but I'm sure there are all manner of other missions that you
You've
can
piqued
play.
my interest.
Now, I'm trying to think what other differences there are. Okay, here's a difference. It is a rule set from another time.
Yeah, it literally.
Literally. And though it has been rewritten in its entirety, it is very much, if you're an Old World player who put your stuff in the closet and said, nope, done with them. Don't want Age of Sigmar, not into sci-fi, no interest in Space Marines, and your stuff is just in a box somewhere, this is going to feel very familiar to you if you go get your box out.
Yeah, like your older brothers, your uncles, your dads, all those dudes who used to play that back in like what, the 80s?
No, I mean, I think they quit it in 2012 or something. 2013, I could be wrong on the number, but it has not been dead that long.
Yeah.
But it's been dead a while.
But quite a while.
And,
People still play it, obviously.
Right.
but-
Well, let me tell you something. If you stopped on it 10 years ago, I don't see any way on God's earth that you're going to remember any of these rules.
You know what? I bet you're going to see a lot of eBay listings for stuff like this. Like you said, somebody's just going to go in their closet, find something, be like, hey, I don't want to play this anymore. Somebody does.
Well, I haven't checked eBay on this stuff, but I imagine it's.
I know, but that's just where my mind went.
Yeah, well, my mind goes to the other side.
Make some money.
I imagine that
Get
if
some cheap models.
yeah, well, no, I think if there's anything on eBay, it's probably really expensive.
Ooh.
And 2, I could see there being nothing left on eBay as of the time of this recording.
Yeah, people probably bought it out like
Yeah,
quick.
it would not have taken long, especially if the people that went out and got their old dusty stuff didn't really know what Games Workshop prices are these days. Like they could have thought, I mean, $40 for the box.
yeah.
Who's going to pay that?
Oh, my brother in Christ.
Money left on the table. Now, it has got a lot going on. Everything's got a modifier. A lot of stuff you roll 2 dice. There are leadership checks being taken continually with all manner of modifiers. The entire magic system is, get your abacus out, right? Because your level 3 wizard gets +3 for casting, and things go off on a number unless there's
counting.
a lot of counting. A lot of counting. The charging, You get your movement. You roll 2 dice. You discard the lowest, and then if you're on a horse or something, you have another d6 that you get to add on the back end for reasons, and it's a lot of counting. It's a lot of counting, and it's a lot of modifiers, and it's a lot of checking stuff, and it's the kind of game that you're gonna miss stuff often
if you're not paying attention.
I think it's just the kind of game where you'll miss stuff whether you mean to or not.
It's so
and
interesting.
and everybody's just gonna kind of have to live with that. Is the vibe I get.
Are we going to talk about some of the models?
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the boxes and the models because we got 10 minutes.
I got a few things to say, sir.
All right.
Have you noticed what they're made of?
Everything.
Yeah, they're made of. They're bringing out old stuff or refreshing stuff, and we got metal coming back. We got resin. We got plastic. It's all out there, folks. I mean, you're getting characters made of resin. You're getting characters made out of metal. You're getting units made of metal.
Is this the kind of because they do this with Lord of the Rings Fantasy Battle, where they have I guess you could tell by the weight of the box when you pick one up what it's made of, but there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason why something is metal and something is plastic and something is resin.
They had the mold setting aside anyways.
Yeah,
Probably.
they're just like, we're going to make this one out of whatever. Do you think we should update it or maybe just see if it'll work in plastic? No, let's not bother.
I love metal, Shane.
Well, so I wonder if they're doing this variety because they know that there's going to be people that are like, man, my whole army's metal. I like metal. I paint metal. It's what I know.
I wouldn't put it past people.
And then so those people can feel like, well, now I got
I'm
some
a
plastic.
metal elitist.
I have no metal.
Oh yeah, you're all plastic. You're a plasticky boy.
I'm Hundo P plastic. Have no interest in doing anything else. If I'm
and I
being
don't
honest.
think you've worked with resin either.
No, I haven't had a resin model. All plastic all the time, and all of my guys are, pointy and beautiful because of it. There's no flash on dim boys. But yeah, I think that the nostalgia angle is being played in a lot of
definitely.
being played in a lot of directions that are not even immediately apparent. Like just saying that it's old world, get your old stuff out, because that's another thing that's cool is if you go and get your stuff out of the closet and you buy the good guy or bad guy book and the core rule book, then your army is likely in there. I think there are a few exceptions, like Dark Elves are not in there and some other things, but you can just go. Like all of the old units are there, and you can figure out what kind of points you've got and what kind of stuff you need to buy. The way I understand it is points-wise and model count-wise, the game is now cheaper than it used to be. Apparently, in its heyday, it was in the hundreds of models, like 100-plus models to play the game. Now it's down a little bit. You need 70 or 80.
Oh, okay, so less to keep track of. More simpler.
No, just less.
Just less.
Just less. Until they get a bit of traction, in which case those points are going to come down, and they'll be like, you guys probably want to buy some more stuff, don't you? And we will say, yes, we do.
We're going to make a second edition for this. Everything's cheaper now.
Yeah. But you've looked at the boxes. Now, there are 2 boxes. There's the Bretonnians and the Tomb Kings. Now, the price of these boxes has got some people a little stressed out. They're like $210 and $260, I want to say. I've seen reported. Tomb Kings being more expensive. You get a good amount of points. I've seen the estimates be that it's like 1,700 points. 1,250 points?
That's what I'm seeing right here in the article.
Well, I think you can... so, here's another difference between 40K and Old World. Is Old World, it's got a little bit of RPG, like Dungeons & Dragon element about it. Where you can buy with points, levels, and equipment, and stuff for all of your dudes.
The Bretonnian box is sold out.
I'm sure it is. It looks good. And also, they give you the big old chonky rule book. And it's a doorstop, man. So you end up with the rule book. I think you get your
dice.
Yeah. I mean, you get all kinds of stuff.
What are they called? The tiles? What do you call them?
The templates.
Yeah, those.
Yeah. So that's another difference between 40K and Old World and Age of Sigmar is you've got templates, so your spells can be represented on the board and also stay on the board. Very similar to the endless spells in Age of Sigmar, except these are usually circles and things. But also you get your the old scatter dice.
Scatter dice.
I love a scatter die. I'll be honest.
A relic from the days of old.
I mean, appropriately so, but I do love a scatter die. Just the idea you got to roll.
That's what I started playing with.
The fact you got to roll that thing out in the middle of the battlefield
Yeah.
and hope you don't take anybody out like a bouncing cannonball. Ironically,
So
to
cool.
direct your bouncing cannonballs,
Yeah.
it's good.
Man, that was when 40K was, pretty much the same as what you're describing, just two armies going up against each other. I think, yeah. When, that was like 2010? 2011?
I have no idea.
Oh, my gosh.
I have no idea.
We're so old.
I don't know anything about it. My first hearing about 40K was whenever I started.
Yeah, and that was basically it. You rolled the scatter dice and used the tiles to figure out where it hit, and sometimes you didn't hit the whole unit or you didn't hit it at all.
Rough.
Yeah, so my rockets that my orcs shoot...
Going all over the place. I mean, that had to slow the game down viciously. Especially when you get to the shot counts of 40K.
Oh,
Yeah, so talk about the boxes. What do you get in your Bretonnian box? What do you get in your Tomb King box? So the Tomb Kings are mummies and skeletons.
Yeah.
The Egyptian thing going on. The Bretonnians are knights of Britain. And do they come with a griffin? They've got a griffin, I think.
No, Pegasus.
The Pegasi.
Pegasi. Yeah, you get like three dudes on Pegasus and a character on a Pegasus. 2 squads of like 6, what looks like 6 knights on horses, and then it looks like 3. Oh wait, my bad. I'm literally got the thing right here. What am I? You get 12 knights of the realm. You get 36 men at arms, 24 bowmen, and 3 Pegasus knights. Also a character on a Pegasus.
Pegasi. That's what we've just decided. And then the Tomb King, you get this crazy skeleton
Bone dragon.
Bone dragon. He looks like the. Do you remember on Nintendo 64 the Yoshi story?
I do not.
Okay, it's adorable. It looks like a pop-up book, and there's a bone dragon that you fight in it, and he looks exactly like that.
I'll have to
with his big goofy face.
You get the Lich Priest on the Bone Dragon. You get 40 skeleton warriors, 32 skeleton archers, 16 horsemen, 3 chariots, and a Tomb King or Prince on foot. Or you can mount the Tomb King on the Bone Dragon if you want.
Can you?
Yeah, apparently it's interchangeable. You could do Tomb King on the Bone Dragon instead of the Lich Priest. So that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
What is like a Lich Priest, like a caster?
I think he is, yeah.
It sounds like a caster.
He sounds like it.
Yeah.
We're over our skis on this old world stuff. Like, I don't know what...
It looks cool.
It looks cool. I don't know what you would want if you were going to be an old world player, though. Like,
I'm orcs all the way, baby.
Yeah.
Maybe dwarves.
Yeah. Which isn't Blood Bowl set in the old world?
Ish.
Right.
Ish.
I guess I would want elves that look like New England Patriots then.
Gosh. What was your Blood Bowl team? Is it elves?
Yeah, it's elves.
It's elves, yeah.
Yes, the Elven Union.
I like the orcs because, man, those cheerleaders. Oof.
They just reissued some cheerleaders, I believe.
That's what I'm talking about. they orky look. Oh boy. But yeah, they even like brought back a lot of the old units, like the questing knight paladin with great weapon is this awesome Bretonnian knight with a great sword, and he's got antlers on his helmet, but he looks like he's from Monty Python, just like got his sword driven down in an orc's head.
Yeah, so that's another thing. There's a lot of cartooniness in these boys that you don't get in your 40K anymore.
Very similar to the old way they used to do the humans in 40K, like the Imperial Guard. You know, they were kind of How did you describe them last week? You said like blobby,
Yeah,
cartoony.
Yeah, they're like they're almost like caricatures.
Yeah,
in a way.
over-imagined features.
Yeah, which made them nice. I mean, if you're going to be sculpting them out of
Metal and resin.
dookie, then yeah, you can't be very subtle, can you? So it's a lot of big hats, it's a lot of plumes, which we'll see how long it takes for the old world stuff to, especially your named characters and things to get that sort of Cities of Sigmar crunchy aesthetic. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Man, I like it. I kind of like it because it just makes me feel, it's just so old school.
It is the old world.
It is the old world. Tomb King looks dope. I like their battle standards, too. They got a lot of crazy skeletal nonsense and skeletal horses and, like, serpents and stuff. Honestly, I'd love to take a look at some of those Ushabti that they have. The special. They're all metal. I think they're like Anubis statues. They look really cool.
Yeah, those are cool.
But the Necrosphinx and the War Sphinx, those are dope.
Jay from Eons of Battle was looking up what it would cost to just pull the trigger on an entire army of Tomb King. If you just got on the website and ordered it, a la carte, and it came out to like $500.
Oof!
And he was shout out to Eons of Battle on YouTube. Go check him out. He's a great source for all sorts of hobby goodness. But yeah, he went oof. But then he was like, well, let me just check and make sure that I'm not tripping. So he goes on and puts 2,000 points of Necrons, who are sort of the 40K version of the Egyptian skeleton army, and it was $750. So, even though these boxes are a little high, you are getting that big old rule book, and it is beautiful, and it's a ton of rules. And then you get your army book, and you're off to the races for the foreseeable future. And I know the homie Austin is working on dwarves as we speak.
Oh, really?
To play Old World. I don't know who he's going to play with, but he is as hype as a person can be about it. And his dwarves are looking good, too. They're done in blue and white. They're going to be great.
Figures he'd go for the shooting army.
I want someone to do with Old World what I have done with Star Wars Shatterpoint. Sometimes we as hobbyists, as game enthusiasts, must take matters into our own hands. I want somebody to get both of these boxes, paint them up fully, and be able to say, would you like to learn / play Old World? I'm bringing everything.
Ooh, what an interesting thing to say.
I mean, yeah, man. You got to be bout it.
Yeah, you got to be diehard.
Yeah, but come on, somebody do it.
There's somebody.
Hey,
like a retiree or somebody with disposable income.
Somebody can do it. I've done it.
Hey, your wife or your girl.
I've been doing it with the kill team. Where if you want to play kill team, I'm bringing the terrain. I'm bringing multiple kill teams. I'm printing out the rules. If you want to play kill team, you got no excuse. Hit me up. You see? And so now I'm doing it with Shatterpoint, where I'm bringing all the terrain. It's all going to be painted. You're going to get a top-notch experience, right? I need somebody to put up approximately $1,000 and have Old World just immaculate and ready to go so that I can get a little taste of it and see how I feel about Rank and Flank that I don't think I like.
Yeah.
I'm ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, you got some wishful thinking going on over there, sir.
Well, this is my wish to you. More Rascal Flatts lyrics than follow.
Go away or I shall taunt you a second time.
I have been Shane. That is Casey. This is 40K Fanatics. Check back next week where we will be talking about boxes and what you should think about them and what comes in them and how that may interest you as someone looking to buy a new army. Peace.